All right, so this is a talk about how to sustain and stay focused on the breath and the breath support and control um, while you're thinking about a lot of other things. So when you're presenting a song, there's so many things you're thinking about. You are, of course, you are thinking about the breath. You're in your body, you're engaged, your throat is relaxed, your jaw is relaxed, your soft palate and your cheeks and this third eye kind of area is engaged to get the tone out. You're really breathing, you're using your body. You're also singing a song that you love, and most likely you love it because it touches you in a deep place. And when a song touches you in a deep place and you're singing it, especially if you're sharing it, it's very vulnerable. It's extremely vulnerable, and that's why it's so great, and it's also why it's so terrifying. And even if it's not terrifying to you, like people have all different relationships with sharing vulnerable things like that, but even if it's not vulnerable, it's still a lot of emotional energy. Like singing is expressive. We're expressing emotion. We're telling a story. We're connecting. We're making tone. We're resonating. Like there's so many things going on. And then I work mostly with people who are singing and playing because I think that's the best way to cultivate a lifelong relationship with music. And so and I have to give Neil more credit for this concept. He invented Simply Music Piano, which if you're trying to learn how to play piano, I highly recommend that method. But he really believes in cultivating, that lifelong relationship with music. So singing and playing is a great way to do that. So if you're playing the piano, ukulele, guitar while you're singing, I think, like for me, that's my absolute favorite way to make music. However, there's another thing to focus on, and it's a lot. You're playing a different rhythm than you're singing. You're tracking the chords. You're sometimes playing a complicated rhythm. Sometimes, you're singing your own song, so that has a whole other layer of like all your associations of every line, every word, every phrase is really likely to have a pretty strong connotation for you. So, how can you stay focused specifically on breath while you're doing all of that, and the timing of the breath? So to me, it's really about that efficiency of movement. Efficiency of movement meaning you're training your body to set into not only a very engaged diaphragm, an expanded rib cage, a breath mechanism that's really flowing in and out and not having a lot of stops and starts. And also that the breath is regulated the whole time. So you're not letting down or moving your attention at the beginning of the phrase. You're not like relaxing at the end of the phrase. You're really staying engaged, every syllable, every note. Again, it doesn't have to be like a crazy effort for every phrase or every note, because the idea is that if you're constantly fully engaged in your body, not necessarily overworking in your body, but just engaged, you're on. So that's one thing that, people don't realize, like singers make it look easy, but really the whole time you're singing, you never stop being engaged with your breath, your diaphragm, having the ribs expanded to create that space so that the breath can freely flow in and out. Taking those nice relaxed breaths so that you can get a lot of breath in and then create the tone. So just really thinking, whether you're sitting, if you're sitting, make sure you have one leg relaxed so that you can get room for your belly so that you can really get a nice breath in. If you're standing, if all the details of like the timing of the breath and all this other stuff I'm trying to think about, if that's getting in your way, then just really focus on, okay, from my first breath, I'm breathing in, my diaphragm's engaged, my ribs are expanded, and my breath is freely flowing in and out as I sing. So I'll just sing Amazing Grace and kind of try to demonstrate this. I'm not playing an instrument right now. But okay, so I'm just going to focus on, yes, this feeling that breath is flowing freely in and out without ever really stopping that momentum. And that as soon as I take my first breath in, or even when I'm just standing getting ready to take that breath, my ribs are open, my collarbone is open, my diaphragm is engaged. So, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost and now am found, was blind, but now I see. So the beauty in that is that, for one, you're getting this beautiful regulation of the breath where through the phrase you're really controlling the output of breath. And then as soon as there's space, you're allowing the breath to come in. And again, you don't want to like overfill, because you'll make yourself pass out with this technique if you're taking in too much air. But through each phrase, it's like, I've talked about this before, but it's like there's a river of breath supporting the phrase, and the river's flow is the steady. It's a steady flow. It's a strong flow. It's not like super fast. It's not currents. It's not, it's not like a lazy river. It's not just like, it's like a steady flow. And it's just from the beginning to the phrase to the end of the phrase, it's like a constant energy. It's a constant force. So that's the regulation part. You can get that feeling by breathing in, keeping your ribs expanded, and hissing your air out, because that also is a steady stream of air. But to get that same engagement and feeling, like I really have to keep working all the way towards that last note. Otherwise, you go flat and you lose pitch. And same at the beginning of a phrase. A lot of times we start talking, especially with like all of our likes and ums, and we don't put a lot of energy into the first thing we say. We kind of get going, right? And then we make our point. But with singing, that first word, I once, even if you're going towards another part of the phrase, that first word has to be like you're fully in it, and you're in the emotion of the phrase as well, in the expression of the phrase. Like with singing, you really have to start the phrase really on the breath. In the breath is when you start the phrase, and then you full energy. And full energy doesn't mean full volume. It just means full engagement. So, yeah, maybe play with this idea of like, if you're doing a lot of things, if you're singing your own song, if you're singing and playing, if you're, trying to record yourself for the first time, maybe take some of the pressure off of like the actual technique of the breath, and just see if you can set the intention of the breath is constantly flowing in and out. And during the phrase, from the very beginning to the end of the phrase, you're really like riding on this very strong river of breath. So try that, see if it helps. Let me know if you have any questions.